How long have you been practicing for? Good morning, Michael Bergio. How are you?
Good morning. We're live. Let it go. Practicing, practicing. I think we're always practicing. We're always learning.
Isn't
When
it
do you stop?
isn't it interesting? So this morning we want to talk about, guys. Obviously, we're in real estate, but we want to talk about practicing. How long have you been practicing for, Michael? 10,000 hours seems to be the number. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of books about it. 10,000 hours of doing one task, and that's when you're a professional. So throwing a ball, hitting a cricket bat, studying, whatever it is, apparently 10,000 is that number. But I think the key thing is once you get there, you keep going 20,000, 30,000. I think a lot of people, they, I don't know, they sort of get to a level which they aspire to when they start, but then they stop. They sometimes feel like they know it all, and they stop learning. So I think you've always got to continue learning, and specifically for us in real estate, we constantly have Lee Woodward and Tom Panos, but self education is, I think, the best form of education, and it has to continue well past your 10,000 hours.
Yeah, big time. So 10,000 hours. So if I can equate that here, I happen to have a calculator here.
Boom.
If you're fortunate and smart enough to do a 40-hour week, and you're doing 52 of those, that's coming up to 2,080. 2,080. That's going to take you 5 years to become a professor in your business. So
Yeah.
if you do that same role for 5 years at 40 hours a week, you are an absolute professor in your role.
And that's doing it part time, Mark, 40 hours a week.
So
I think when I,
and
yeah,
not a real estate agent,
yep,
someone like yourself, not
yes.
to blow sunshine up your bum, but how many hours would you work if you were counting hours? How many hours would you be practicing a week?
I think it would be your minimum, including your headspace, at least 80 hours a week. My whole philosophy when I started real estate, because that's where everyone said it takes 5, 7 years of being in the business to start getting like momentum, recurring business, referral business. And my philosophy from day one was if that based off most people doing a 40-hour a week, taking 5, 7 years, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work 80 hours a week minimum, and I'll do it in half the time. And I did. I was able to get some tremendous success very, very quickly because you put in do double the work. You got to put the hours in. You got to get to, let's just say you got to get to that 10,000. You can do it in 20 years. You can do it in 10 years. You can do it in 5. You can do it in 2.5 if you put the hours in.
So when you're employing the service of someone,
Yes.
I think them being a professor in their field is good. So whether it's a plumber, an electrician, you know what's interesting? How long is the plumbing apprenticeship for?
Well, that's 4 years, and that was my whole thing. I always compared what we do in real estate, Mark,
Yeah.
to a university degree and a trade. You do those both things for 4 years, sometimes longer, for basically no money. Like uni, you're not getting paid, and an apprentice, you get paid peanuts, and that's what you're thinking learning. So real estate, reality is you can do a bloody 1 hour course and be an agent, but you've got to put in your 4 years of head down, bum up before you evaluate. That's why I think it's crazy, Mark, when a lot of people sort of chop and change within their first couple of years of real estate in particular, because you don't chop and change your university and you don't chop and change your apprenticeship, no matter you like it or you don't like it. You've just got to get in and get your 10,000 to get to a level where you actually add value to an employer. Because let's face it, yes, apprentices, they don't have the negotiating power or skills that someone does. Tick that box, get that degree, get to that 10,000 hours, and put yourself in a position of value or more value. I don't want to decredit it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I was just going to see if you're on Wi-Fi or 4G, just as
I'm on Wi-Fi. I can go on 4G.
maybe better. So guys, what's really interesting is I think when you're employing a real estate agent or someone's services, those years of actually being a professor are super, super critical. And so this morning, if you just cut in, what we're talking about is doing 10,000 hours in any field. When you've done the 10,000 hours in any field, that's when you truly become a pro at what you're doing. Welcome back, Michael.
Yes.
And that, yeah. So let's talk about, can you be too many hours in a business? Can you be, if you're more than 10,000, because something that I know that a trainer, Tom Panos, always talks about it, it's that hustle. Do you know what I mean? Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. So I find that with people that have been in the industry for too long, they lose that hustle. They lose that hunger. So sometimes too many hours can mean not enough hustle.
Yeah, I think it is a balancing act. It's one of those things, but then sometimes there's complacency. So a lot of the time it's not being like doing too many hours in the business. You're not doing enough hours outside of the business or in your life to stimulate sort of motivation. So that could be not take where you spend all your time in the business, but then you resent the business because you're not doing any of you time, which will then bring your productivity down. Because I don't.
Robot.
Yeah, you're a robot. So I think it's more external things that make you complacent with it. Because we see plenty of gun older agents. Like look at Lisa. A lot of people would not come into a new career. Yeah, older to myself, as she has said many times. She came into the sales part of the industry at the young age of 47, where a lot of people may not do it because they don't have that motivation. But if you love what you do and you got that energy, I think age can sort of be irrelevant, and hours you put in. I think it's just you've got to. It's not just work; it's the life balance as well.
That's really interesting because it's because a lot of people, when they get to the age, I would imagine, of 50, they would think that they're not, they are not, they're going to get outpaced or outworked by people in their 20s, but not the case. Hey, because if you go back to what we're talking about that 10,000 hours to be a professor,
yes,
I guess you could say. Lisa sort of did that almost, in a very, very short period, maybe 6 months.
100%.
She already had a leg up she'd already done a lot of those, almost a lot of that same work over a 10 or 20 year period because she's been in the business.
Yeah, she's in the background of the business working and then just hit the ground running in sales. So
yeah,
I think like Mark, like cause where you going? We like as a young agent, I was always coming up against a lot of older agents as well, and you're right. A lot of the time they do lose their energy and hunger, but I reckon that's more because it's other stuff going on, not overworking in the profession. Is sort of what I'm trying to get across in that. I reckon you got to get your whole life balance for sustainability.
I remember you talking to Lee Woodward about other agents having to juggle a lot more. So the beauty about being in your 20s and 30s and a professional or a professor in whatever industry you want to do is you can literally outpace, outwork, because you're extremely focused. You're not juggling kids. You're not juggling sick parents. You're not juggling all that sort of stuff. So it's quite you're not juggling running of a business. So you're quite a powerful and focused person when you're in that time. But if you can manage those things effectively and be a professor and be a professor in the business, you're an absolute weapon. So a lot of people I've seen get into something when they're in their 50s, which is equally a beautiful time because kids are now gone through university and doing their own thing. You're extremely focused back on your craft. You've done your 10,000 hours but you got to make sure the passion's still there. Hey.
Yeah, that's the key thing. If as Tom Panos says, if you love what you do, you're not working. And you've got to love what you do. And if you don't love what you do, find something that you do. And as he said, I've been very fortunate at the age of when I started Novak. I think I was like 22. So you don't have any distractions, and you're able to pump out 10,000 hours within a couple years to get to a level. And then obviously sustain it with, you gotta love what you do. And to anyone out there watching this, if you're basically under 35 and you don't love what you do, change it and do something you love. Like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V on Instagram, he's a big one on, people think if they haven't got their life sorted by 25, life's over. Like, there's plenty super successful
Great
people
point.
that start their
Great
careers
point.
at 40, 45, 50.
Relevant.
Yeah, get rid of the age, but
Yeah.
just knuckle down.
Get rid of the age block and get the passion. Unblock it with passion. Find that what you're passionate about. Because you know what, no matter what you do, it's all going to be just as hard. You've got to be just as applied. You've got to put those 10,000 hours in to become an expert. But you've got to be passionate. I know I had a guy just reaching out to me on recently, a couple of nights ago on Facebook, and he was saying, how the hell are you juggling what you're juggling? We've been, I've got my wife working in the business. I just don't know what to do. And I said, and I was saying, find within your business what you actually really love and and practice that. Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes we become wedged in a certain practice or a certain process in our business, whereas in real estate in particular, and I think honestly you can find that in many industries. You can actually forge in different directions, and you can use different things, different tools to forge in that direction. So, fortunately for me, I love that technology side of business. So I've spent an enormous amount of time going into that, like social media is an example of that. Buying camera equipment or whatever it is an example
testing
of that. Testing it, breaking it, and new stuff coming to market and applying that and seeing that work, I get very rewarded by it. So my advice to him was, buddy, have a good look around, because in anyone's job or in any industry, there's actually thousands of tasks.
Well, you recently did that with yourself, you and Lisa. Tell us about that specifically as you were about to go in. You've done this yourself. Identify the tasks you love and you don't love. Because, Mark, a lot of people, when they get in that rut, they do something drastic like blow up their marriage or change companies. But if you do what you're about to say, you can identify the little things that you don't like and change them. So what did you do? I think it was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and look, I think if I look at, I know we're doing this example today on hours, but I probably average about a 7. How many hours would I do a week?
Man, like you and Lisa start at 5 a.m. Let's face it, 5 a.m. till 9 o'clock.
Probably
it's always work.
Back in the door pretty late, but so I don't know, whatever the hours, say that's 80 hours, 6 days a week times 52 times 26 years.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at over 100,000 hours.
Yep.
Doing the same thing, same thing, and yet. Great example with Lisa and I. We sat down about 2 or 3 years ago. One thing that I've always done is I've always run a bucket list.
Yep.
I've had a bucket list for my partner, and I've had a bucket list for me, because my partner's bucket list is as important as my bucket list. So we work on that together.
Big tip there to anyone with a partner. Big tip there. Their bucket list is just as important as yours. Remember that.
Yeah, so I've got it in my notes. I'm going to bring Lisa's bucket list up.
Probably. You sure?
Okay. So build the jewelry collection is in there. More of the same. It's pretty honest. I'll read some. Age gracefully was another one. Do Greece with buddies. Well,
I'm a buddy. I'll come.
Renovate the study. You'll be there.
I'll come.
But my point is that's Lisa's bucket list. If you just tune in, we're talking about 10,000 hours and you're a professor in a job, and how long we've been practicing for.
And not burning out. So I think that's where we're leading to, like keeping that hustle, keeping that passion, keeping the motivation when you're 100,000 hours in. compared to someone who's 5,000 hours in.
Yeah, and I'll tell you in a sec about that highest and best use. But before I do, which is that list you asked about, but I think it's really important that people, if I was a Viking, and I would be a very good Viking. but
Real humble.
the Viking, but the idea is that the Vikings used to burn their boats. So they used to land on to conquer a continent or whatever it was. They would burn their boats and say, "We're going to do this shit. We're going to."
There was a famous Swedish sailor who did that. We'll go. This is a one-way trip. We don't find that piece of land. There's no going back and take it over. There's a famous voyage with that one. But yeah,
right. But I think that I try to find because now I'm at 100,000 hours doing the same thing, and I'm fortunate. I think because of a mindset, I'm fortunate that I still love. I've found different beauty in the same shit. You know, when I say same shit, you know, it could be a rocket scientist, but if you've been doing it for 100,000 hours, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
And that technology side, and the way we harnessed that, or the way we did that, was we sat down. We're away, and we sat down and said, you know what? What are your highs and lows? What are the things you actually love doing, and what are the things you hate doing? Because we're 40 now, and which was when we sort of had a chat about it, and it was like we don't have to do shit that we don't want. And what that actually did is that pushed us into an entirely new direction in our business, which was really, really interesting. So what that actually did was, and I'll give you some examples. I thought it was a total waste. Like I had the shits with putting fuel in my car. It was bloody boring. And I had the shits with washing my car. I used to hand wash my car for 25 years, and every Sunday, and with the kids, and it was like, you know what? I don't need to do that shit anymore. Get it done. Get it sorted. So it did cost me, and I'm fortunate that I had the money to pay someone to wash my car and pay someone to fuel my car. But it was one task a week, which was 52 tasks a year, which is 250 tasks in 5 years. And Lisa and I did that had that automated ourselves. Now, what that actually allowed us to do was it allowed us to do what we wanted to do more, because we actually freed up. So effectively, I would always think to myself, I've got to do this more. I've got to do this more. I've got to do this more. Instead of trying to do that more, I killed a boring task.
Yeah.
By killing that boring task, I naturally fell forward into the task I wanted to do. So message out there with people that are doing more than 10,000 hours, that people maybe are starting to get a little bit mundane in what they do. Kill the shit that you don't like. Get rid of the stuff that's actually the mundane stuff that's lightly grinding you, and you will fall forward into stuff that you love even more.
Yeah, because the big thing there, Mark, is there are a lot of things let's use real estate as an example. You've got real estate, but there's 1,000 things in real estate that you could do. So you could love the actual function of speaking with. So you may love real estate because you love negotiating and you love meeting new people, but you may be in leasing, dealing with tenants, but you also manage property as well. So you may say, well, let me come off managing and let me do more leasing. Or you may love the photos of homes and design, and you don't want to be speaking to clients, but you rather do sales support. So there's a lot of people out there that I reckon love what they do, but there's probably a lot of tasks they don't love, and they just then fall out of love on the whole thing because of a few tasks that they do which they don't love. And where you eliminate those tasks you don't love and just do what you love, I think you'll get your energy back. You'll get your hustle back like you did in your first 10,000 hours. So
Yeah.
I think that can apply. I reckon tradies are the best example for this, Mark. They are great with their hands and their tools, but they start their own business, but then they resent it because of all the paperwork and the books. Now, and a lot of them retain doing all that. But that's probably one thing. If they outsource someone doing their books, they can just focus on doing what they love and building stuff. I reckon tradies are a perfect example. How many do we see?
I
And
love
they're
a
just,
tradie. I love
yeah,
it. I just think I think life as a tradie. If I had a boy, and it won't be sexist,
yeah,
or girl, and they wanted to be a tradie, I think it's I think you're spot
yeah.
on.
But the most time when we see a tradie who looks tired and just overworked, most of the time it comes down to going, fucking the books, getting the quotes, like
The what?
typing up the quotes. The biggest thing
Yeah, the
tradies
books.
struggle at are the books
Yes,
and
yes,
getting professional quotes out to
yes,
clients. They love meeting the client. They
yes.
want to
That's a
do the work,
perfect
but
example.
they hate the admin side of it. So I reckon what we're saying here today, if you're a tradie and you're sort of starting to resent it, maybe get rid of a task, and that could be your books, your admin, and then get back to get yourself on the tools.
It's well said. Can I just get through a couple of comments? Luke Moroney, I'm looking for an admin person next 3 months. Guys, this guy is a wonderful business person. Luke
Yeah.
Moroney. Luke's positioned, I think he's in the eastern suburbs. Anyone that wants to get into admin for a buyer's agent, he's your man. Lana,
Especially with a positive
good morning.
outlook. Like talk about someone who's going to motivate you and inspire you.
Hey, this
Luke
guy's
with all,
Luke's. What's he done recently? He's jogged every day for 365
yeah.
days.
No, I think he's almost 2 years into it now. 7 kilometers a day for six. Correct me if I'm wrong, Luke. I reckon you're probably up to 700 days consecutive. So
That's
amazing,
power.
positive
That's power.
mindset guy.
Good positive mindset. Ray Price, I want to be a rocket surgeon. Ray, you are a rocket surgeon and you
Yep.
are a Viking. Rosie Sullivan, good morning. One of the great real estate trainers in the country.
Yeah.
For compliance. Amal, love Amal's work.
She's on this Saturday, guys. Tune
She's
in.
on this Saturday, Kevin. It's a great suburb. Those guys working. We're going to talk about that on Saturday. Go hard at the gym, exercise, grind, hustle, stillness, and clarity. Maybe reinvent yourself and your business.
Yes.
Yeah, Luke, good point. Luke, I like Luke's style, guys. Keep an eye out what he does, and I think his energy. We've never really done work together, but certainly his energy is great and positive. Rita, how are you? You legend. And that's everyone's comments for this morning. But Michael, anything else?
No, I like the comment, Luke, mate. Reinvent yourself. So, especially give yourself, there's a lot of things people get. Even if you look at a cafe with their fit out, for example, I think a lot of even just redoing your shop front, redoing your interior. Mark, we changed offices. I bet as much as that was stressful during that period, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they just give you a second life of your career? Like you just came out going, let's hit this. I feel re-energized, refreshed. So what Luke just said, reinvent yourself, lose weight, gain weight, travel, change locations, but don't do it too drastic, like change your wife if you're in a happy marriage, or change companies. Like there's, what's that saying? What is it? I think you've said it to me many times, Mark, where people sort of get to 40, it's like sex, drugs, rock and roll, just they
Walking
blow
the grey
themselves
line.
up. Yeah, yeah.
Walking the grey
Do you want
line
to explain
is,
that for our
yeah,
viewers?
walking the grey line is really, really hard. Terrifically successful people that have done that 10,000 hours in their craft, in their business, in what they do. It's very hard to continue walking that grey line. I've been walking that grey line for 100,000 hours.
Yeah.
I get that wrong, those hours? Sounds right.
Yeah, sounds right.
100,000
Yeah,
hours.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just put that in a calculator, 25 years.
I think it's probably more. I think I did, like, if 80 hours a week anyway, that's fine. Go on. Grey line.
Here we go.
Just do 80 times 52.
Times 52.
It's like
times
3,500, isn't it?
25. Yeah, it's
No.
right. 10,000, 104,000 hours. But yeah, walking that grey line, Michael, is really hard. So it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So one of the leading psychiatrists in the country is a friend of mine. I see him at coffee most mornings. That's how I know him. And one of the things I always ask, how's work? You know, how's it going? What's it doing? And one thing that he was saying to me was, because he works in quite an affluent area, and I was like, you know, and I was like, dude, how does this happen? He said, Mark, they live a life of beige. So everything is perfect. They have the perfect wife, the perfect car, the perfect holiday, the perfect kids. And when it's also perfect, when it's also beige, he goes, they turn around and fuck things up. I said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And he said, well, they blow it up. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
He goes, sex, drugs, or rock and roll. One of those things they will turn to and detonate stuff. So
and sex is generally with someone else, not their wife.
An affair.
Or partner.
An affair, or drug addictions, or partying, when it all comes in together and all blends in. So it is quite hard to walk that grey line that we just spoke about, but there is definitely beauty there by doing that. And that's a take.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Love you all.
Mate, and Michael, thank you for coming. I know you've had a particularly hard couple of days, and you've committed to this and your crew and the people that are watching. So respect to you and your nonna.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
All right, mate. Take care, everyone. See ya. Bye.